I just want to say this right now. I don't think I should ever complain about being an Indians fan ever again because the Pirates have it pretty bad. But the Rockies, oh my gosh, they traded away the best thing that has happened to them in the last 15 years to the St. Louis Cardinals. And as Foolish Baseball said on Twitter, I think that he said it best. So the Cardinals say, hey, Rockies, we want to trade for that said player. The best thing that has happened to you in the last 15 years. The Rockies say, no, we can't do that. Then the Cardinals come back and say, hey, what about this? You give us Nolan Arenado and $50 million. And then the Rockies come back and say, okay, that sounds way better. Let's go ahead and do it. I cannot believe what I'm reading. These St. Louis Cardinals absolutely fleece the Rockies, so we're going to go ahead and talk about that in just a second. You know that Trevor Story woke up today feeling like Anakin in Revenge of the Sith, just angry. He is mad at the world. He doesn't know what's going on. He might even pull a Deshaun Watson. If you don't know, he's the quarterback of the Texans. He told them, hey, I'm not playing anymore. You guys got to trade me. And for whatever reason, the Rockies have not traded Trevor Story just yet. I thought it was going to be like a boom trade. Nolan Arenado is gone. Then it's Trevor Story. Then it's Charlie Blackmon. Then it's German Marquez. Then it's Kyle Freeland. All of these players have to get traded because if the Rockies are going to do a rebuild, they might as well tear it all down and start from ground level zero or whatever the saying is. But yeah, what we're going to do is break it down because I was out last night. Of course, as soon as I leave my home, the craziest things in baseball happen. Luckily, I was home for the Francisco Lindor trade, but going forward, just know, if I put out a tweet, follow me on Twitter at FuzzyFromYT, and I say that I have left the house, expect the craziest things to happen. I could not believe I could not make this video as it happened, so I'm sorry. I know a lot of people in the comments are going to say, Fuzzy, you're late, but because of that, we're able to talk about a breaking story. Didi Gregorius signed a 2-year deal with the Phillies worth $28 million, so this is a perfect signing. It's going to be a bridge for the upcoming star shortstop. I played with him in high school, Bryson Stott. I promise you guys, if you're a Phillies fan, he is going to be worth the wait. So the Phillies haven't really done too much to get better as a squad. They did sign Archie Bradley and Matt Moore. They also traded for Jose Alvarado. So technically speaking, they are better because they added pieces. But when you're looking at the rest of that division, do we really think that the Phillies are going to be able to make even the number 2 spot, win a wild card spot in the National League? I don't know if it's going to happen. So please let me know in the comment section down below. If you're a Phillies fan, what do you make of what's happening? Do we think that the Phillies can be a sneaky World Series team? I believe that bullpen is still very suspect. They have a lot of pitchers in that pen that I just look at them and say, they're decent. Hector Neris goes through stretches where he shows he can be dominant, and then he's the worst relief pitcher in all of baseball. So to me, yes, it's a good deal. $14 million a season for Didi. That is going to be, again, a perfect bridge for Bryson Stott to be ready in the next 2 seasons to get comfortable. And he also missed the entire 2020 minor league baseball season. So that's something that you have to take into account. Now, I do also want to talk about one more signing before we get into the Nolan Arenado trade and break it down really piece by piece. The Indians, just a couple days after re-signing Cesar Hernandez, went out and got a free agent. Eddie Rosario, of all people. They gave him a 1-year deal at $8 million, so that's pretty cheap in my opinion because Eddie Rosario, at his best, he can be a 30 home run guy that plays great defense out in the outfield, and he does not strike out. So to me, this is a match made in heaven considering Eddie Rosario is legit Barry Bonds when he plays at Progressive Field, where the Indians play. He has a career 1031 OPS at Progressive Field compared to Francisco Lindor's 889 OPS. So to me, we are winning the Francisco Lindor trade. Just stop it. Oh, and one more thing about the Cardinals before we talk about the big-time trade. They re-signed Adam Wainwright. I talked about that in yesterday's video. And reports are flying that as soon as the Puerto Rican League is done, because Yadier Molina is over there and playing, they will be able to re-sign Yadier Molina. So the band is going to be back together, plus Nolan freaking Arenado, and that's not it. They will also have $50 million, and they did not have to give up a single top 10 prospect. Sorry guys, I meant to say not a single top 5 prospect because the Rockies did get number 9 prospect Jhon Torres, so I'm sorry, don't hate me. They didn't have to give up Nolan Gorman. They didn't have to give up switch hitting, in my opinion, future superstar Dylan Carlson. They didn't have to give up Matt Liberatore. What are the Rockies thinking? The only possible case that I can imagine is that no one else was willing to give up as many prospects as the Cardinals gave up. So let's go ahead and break it down. Now, I do have to say this trade is not considered done just yet, but Nolan Arenado still has to say, yes, I will waive my no trade clause. And then MLB, as well as the Players Union, they have to actually agree for this trade to go through. So the players that are going from the Cardinals to the Rockies, you have Jhon Torres. He's the number 9 prospect for the Cardinals. He reminds me of Nick Castellanos. You can see him hitting a home run right now. He's 6'4", he has big power and a pretty good arm. So he reminds me of Nick Castellanos. If he turns into that, that's a pretty good, pickup in my opinion, but I don't think that he is going to amount to Nolan Arenado. Let's move on. The Rockies will be getting a right-handed pitcher, Angel Rondón. He is the number 13 prospect who is actually coming off a 2019 minor league pitcher of the year for the Cardinals. He is disgusting, but he does have a little bit of control issues. Moving on, the Rockies are getting left-handed pitcher Austin Gomber, however you say it. He's a 27-year-old lefty with pretty solid stuff. He has a 3.72 ERA in 104 big league innings, and he had a 1.86 ERA combined in 2020, but we all know it was a shortened season, so you can't really look at that and say, hey, he's going to have a 1.86 ERA for the next couple years. Moving on, we have first baseman / pitcher. He is a two-way player, Luken Baker. He was drafted in the second round of 2018. He's 6'4", 280, but he did have a 751 OPS in A-ball. That is not good. When you get into rookie ball and A-ball, you are supposed to be raking, but instead, he was kind of exposed as an average hitter, so maybe he's going to have to be a pitcher. We'll have to wait and see. And then last but not least, the Rockies are getting right-handed pitcher Jake Woodford. In his first 21 big league innings back in 2021, he was roughed up 13 earned runs and a 6.71 FIP in those same 21 innings. He does have nasty stuff. The clip that I'm showing right now was a scoreless inning, so maybe he can put all of that together and become a pretty decent relief pitcher or a starting pitcher. But all of the names that I just said right now, Jhon Torres, Angel Rondón, Austin Gomber, you have Luken Baker, you have Jake Woodford. So actually, now that I'm looking at it right now, Jhon Torres is a number 9 prospect, so they didn't get a single top 5 prospect. Let me go ahead and correct that right now. So the intro of today's video is a little bit wrong. For whatever reason, I thought that Jhon Torres was outside the top 10. And the remainder that we have to talk about is Nolan Arenado and $50 million going back to the Cardinals in return for those said prospects and players. What are they thinking? I know Nolan Arenado is kind of considered a home warrior, because if we take a look at his career stats, he has a 985 OPS at home and a 793 OPS on the road. But when I look at Nolan Arenado, he is a defensive genius, and in almost 501 plate appearances where there's 2 outs and runners in scoring position, where it's time to be clutch, he has a 1015 OPS. So he's clutch when it matters. He doesn't care which ballpark he plays in. If there is a runner in scoring position, he's going to knock him in. If there's a play that has to be made at third base, he's going to make that play. And also, if we take a look at the super analytical stats, the WRC plus, he has a 118 WRC plus for his career, which factors in ballpark. So he is 18 points above average. So all these people that are saying Nolan Arenado is going to be a bust in St. Louis, he actually has pretty good stats in Busch Stadium. And if we go back and look at the past Rockies players that went on to other teams and continue to rake, Matt Holliday was fantastic with a 136 OPS plus from 2010 to 2016 with the Cardinals. And then DJ LeMahieu, who was supposed to be a bust on the Yankees, he's been an MVP candidate every single season, and he got better. So a lot of Rockies players are excited to leave Coors Field because they can really put that behind him and say, you know what, I am not a product of Coors Field. You can clearly vote for me to get into the Hall of Fame because I was able to produce at an elite level away from the pinball ballpark, the cheating ballpark, the injected steroids ballpark known as Coors Field. So I'm super happy for Nolan Arenado because this is going to help his case in terms of making the Hall of Fame. Mike Schmidt, the greatest third baseman of all time, says that Arenado is Mike Schmidt 2.0. So that is high praise. Everyone who is bad talking Nolan Arenado, they are not looking at the advanced stats. Everyone is just saying road OPS, road OPS. I understand why you would say that, but I promise you Arenado is going to be a superstar. The only problem that I have with this trade so far, because the Cardinals, they absolutely robbed the Rockies, is the fact that Nolan will keep his opt-out clause for 2021 and 2022. He can leave with the quickness. He can snap his fingers and say, hey, I'm out. I'm going to the Yankees, or I'm going anywhere else. Maybe the Phillies. Maybe they work out a trade because he tells the Cardinals that he's not going to sign a contract, and maybe the Phillies have to trade Alec Bohm in return for Nolan Arenado. Who really knows? But for right now, that is the only thing that scares me. And again, I expect Trevor Story to be the next domino to fall. I just don't understand what the Rockies are thinking. So just to kind of summarize everything that happened, the Indians pick up Eddie Rosario on a 1-year, $8 million deal. Didi Gregorius is going back to the Phillies for 2 years, $28 million. And then Nolan Arenado and $50 million are going to the Cardinals in exchange for a couple prospects. Not one of them is in the top 5 or even the top 8 prospects for the Cardinals organization. I mean, the fact that Dylan Carlson and Nolan Gorman and Matt Liberatore were not traded just absolutely blows my mind. Yes, Arenado had a down season. He had an 84 OPS and I believe 50 or 60 games. I don't remember the amount of games that he played, but the dude is legit. He is a true and genuine superstar. I believe that he is going to have MVP seasons for the next decade in St. Louis. So thank you all so much for watching. Again, I'm sorry this came out so late. I was out last night, and of course, that means that the baseball gods say, hey, Fuzzy, you've been working too much. We're going to make sure that you put other priorities ahead of breaking baseball stories and remind you that there is more to life than YouTube. I absolutely hate life when I cannot give you guys content right when it happens. So thank you all for being understanding. I appreciate you guys. And to the city of Colorado, specifically Rockies fans, I am so sorry. Be safe.